Welcome to the ObstacleDominator.com podcast featuring Beni Gifford and Brakken Crocker. Whether you want to dominate your next obstacle race or just get started in obstacle racing, you're about to discover every tactic you need to know, from gear to training to nutrition. Get the latest tips from the trenches, get your questions answered, and show up at your next obstacle race ready to dominate. And now, here's Beni and Brakken.
Welcome to the Obstacle Dominator podcast. Your host, Brakken Crocker, here with my co-host, emphasis on co-host, Beni Gifford. Sweet Beni, welcome to the show, and welcome our guest on today, the one, the only, Nicole Mericle.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
You're a hot commodity. You're tough to get a hold of these days.
I don't know about that.
Brakken, I don't know if you realized, but this is we're breaking two high-level athletes obstacle dominator cherries in a row. We had never had Ryan Kempson on, and believe it or not, we've never had Nicole on either. Even though when Hunter and I were doing this and living together, she came to visit us, and across like a week of hanging out, we couldn't just nail down a flipping time. Even though we don't have jobs, all we do is run around mountains and stuff. We never could actually just interview her.
Yeah, people think people are surprised at how busy I am with not having a job.
Yeah, well, so just so the listeners can get to know, even though if they don't know you, they've got their head either up their butt or in the ground. I know you as the girl who in Dallas Savage Race, I think 2016 maybe, or maybe even 2015, you showed up and you smashed KK Stewart, which at the time I was like, what? Who the heck is this tiny little midget running so fast? And you're like, oh, wait, who did I just beat? I don't even know. And then I think the next year, even that year, you went on to win the OCR World Championships 3K, beating who is, in my opinion, the overall best OCR athlete of all time, Lindsey Webster, and then almost beat her again the next day. If you a little
that was 2017. 2016, I was the runner-up in the 15K. I didn't actually know about the 3K.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a shame.
Yeah. But,
so
yeah.
if you had to describe yourself to listeners, aside from being a world champion, I mean, who are you, Nicole?
Ooh, that's a loaded question.
Well, let me phrase it differently. You got a sponsor, a big sponsor, right? And you got to pitch yourself to that sponsor. It's really putting yourself on the spot. Nobody likes to do that.
No. Oh, no, it's easy. So I describe myself to people as a rock climber and a trail runner who does obstacle course racing, because that describes how I train. I'm pretty much run and climb, and I have incorporated lifting, some kettlebells every now and then, and some sandbags, but I would still say that I'm really a rock climber and a runner at heart. And I just really I found obstacle course racing about 3 years ago, and it was a ton of fun. And despite like my best intentions to do more trail races, I just like keep on being drawn back to obstacle races, which has turned out just fine.
Good. And I think that a lot of people try to project an image in this sport. I mean, every sport, every walk of life, people try to project the image that they want people to see. But I feel like yours is very organic. Like your social media is rock climbing and running almost exclusively. And your daily life is, and what?
And squad time.
Yes, obviously that.
I'm sure if you follow me.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I said I'm sure if you follow me, you'll see a lot of me working out with Nell and Matt Kempson and Hunter and Dylan.
Yeah.
But
your life seems to revolve around those two disciplines primarily, and that's not something that you force out there. I think you're an easy sell to companies because of that.
Well, thanks.
But you talked about something that I guess I was going to leave till later on in the show, but let's dive right in. You talked about, despite your best efforts to get away and do something else, you came back to OCR, and you seem to kind of personify the trend that exists through most high-level OCR athletes, and that they come in with a previous set of skills. And they kind of take the world by storm in their first couple of races. And part of it is that the old guard in OCR doesn't take them seriously when they blast off the start line. Like, a new person can't possibly be doing what I'm doing. They let you go. They never reel you back in. Suddenly you're the new big player in the sport, right? Yep. And that was you. Like, you had a couple of races that just blew people away. And then you kind of settle in and you realize, you know what, it was cool. I might move on. And there's that second or third year just like lull in the sport where you decide to pursue other things, but OCR always brings us back. I've tried it. Beni's tried it. A bunch of us have tried to do other things. Why do we always wind up back here?
Well, there's so many races out there, first of all. And so I think it's, there's just like, there's so many things that, you could be doing, like so many different like Spartan series, and there's other races out there in obstacle racing. And when you're better at obstacle racing, because it's, it's a new sport, and it's just not, the fields aren't as deep. It's almost like kind of hard to like say no to some races when you're like, oh, like, yeah, like I could be like right there in like the heat of the competition. And whereas like in trail racing, like I would still like to go do some just like pure trail races, but it's not, I'm going to be a little bit more out of my comfort zone doing, say, like a sky race. Like that's something that I want to do, but that's like a little bit different for me. So yeah, I think part of it is just like there's so many opportunities and big races out there.
Yeah, it's a tough trade-off where we want to try other things, but there's that, like, we're all ego driven. It's hard to say no to a podium or a championship.
Yeah.
And prize money is an interesting part of OCR. There's been a lot of blowback towards the major races this year. Tough Mudder removed prize money. Spartan just launched this whole big new progression in the sport, but their prize money didn't raise on a per race basis. It's $3,000, $1,200, $800, I believe, at US National Series this year. Is that correct?
I think it's $3,000, $1,500, $800. Yeah.
Okay. It was
which is the same
4 years ago at Navy Federal races. And
really?
so like they're giving away tens of thousands more this year because there's more races. But on a per race basis, people are kind of rebelling against the fact that they're making a ton of money and not throwing it all at the athletes. And I think that's very true. But at the same time, like if you and I wanted to jump into a $3,000 road race or trail race, we would have like 50 or 60 studs show up.
Yeah, totally.
To put 3,000 on the line in any other form of running, you race Olympians or national level runners, and we don't yet have that depth of field here. So the prize money isn't huge, but it's so much bigger than you can easily obtain anywhere else that it keeps you coming back to.
Yep. That's, it's something, I think a lot of people don't want to talk about the money aspect, the prize money aspect as much, but I mean, I'm trying to do this as my like full-time job. And so, if I have the opportunity to go and potentially win like $3,000 at a race versus like go do a trail race that's going to be, even if I were to win, it would be like $200, like that's going to play into it. So yeah.
The places, ironic, that I've seen the biggest prize money is the TV shows, which some of them are more sport than TV, but most of them are more TV than sport. And I mean, like this $1 Million Mile advertising that we're seeing coming out, the fact that it's $1 million on the line. And I'm not going to say the number because I don't know if this was told to me in confidence or not. Confident? Yeah, that's how you use it. But there was a huge flat rate to the people who are just the defenders, like bigger than aside from like World's Toughest Mudder, it's the biggest prize. You can call it prize money or payment to be an athlete that's ever been in the sport, just to be an athlete, not even to win. It was just to chase these people. And with that in mind, have you been, I don't think you've actually been on any of these TV shows. And what's your target? Like, do you not want to, or you just haven't gone after it yet? Yeah,
so I actually was on, I ran the course for American Ninja Warrior back in 2013 or 2014. And at that point, I think I like approached that TV show more in like the competition mindset. And so after I did it, it was different. It's a show. It's like entertainment. It's not a race. And so I was like, wow, that's not exactly what I was looking for. Like I want something that's like a true competition. And you just like, you show up and it's like you run at 2 a.m. and you don't know when you're going to go on and you don't get to try things beforehand. And so it just was a different thing than I thought that it would be. So since then I wanted to go back and potentially try that again, but definitely didn't want to make it my focus. Like I want to more focus on the races. Right. So I would say that's my only experience with one of those type of like obstacle shows.
So with Tough Mudder removing all of their prize money, I was talking with one of my buddies about this, the potential that Spartan now has as really the only big name in competition left in the game they could essentially hold a monopoly and pay us whatever they want, because where were we going to go? Like,
Don't tell them that. No.
I'm pretty sure they're aware of it. They didn't just let the cat out of the bag here. But to me, so far, I haven't seen them decrease anything. And they seem to be an organization that, especially with this year, I'm not going to say that their integrity was ever lacking, but it seems like they're kind of putting that at the forefront with the fact that they reviewed the crazy DQ of Ryan Woods and Hunter Russell and, all that stuff. I don't think they're going to go that way, because when it comes down to it, even though it is a company, it's still a company that was founded off Joe DeSena's thing about ripping people off the couch. And, building the sport helps affect more people and want to be more like the pros and more like the experts. And you're not going to have the experts and the pros if, like you said, they start keeping the prize money at this kind of silly, it's not silly at this point, but, if the sport continues to grow and the prize money remains the same, it's going to get kind of stagnant.
Yeah, I think that Spartan has made a commitment to trying to grow the sport at the elite level. And I think that's a really awesome thing that they've showed this year. Because, they could have just said, this is kind of the only option now for a lot of the elite OCR racers. And we don't have to put out as much prize money. And they're still probably going to show up. But I think that they definitely they see probably a value in inspiring people, as I think that a lot of us do, at the elite level. And it's been a good show for them.
Before we move away from this territory with what we were talking about just a couple seconds ago, why I
was gonna say, for the $1 Million Mile, I was actually approached to be on that show, but I was in Europe at the time, and I think I had just finished. I think it was like right before the Trifecta Championship race that I did, and the climbing, the rock climbing trip to Greece that I took. Yeah. So I was kind of like, I didn't press the topic. I wasn't like, oh, what are the details, and when exactly is this happening? But because I was already committed to racing the Trifecta Championships and to going on what was one of the best rock climbing trips I've been on. So
that's good.
I'm kind of like I do have a little bit of like FOMO for missing that show, especially like now, like the previews are coming out and it looks really sick.
They look like a bunch of superheroes running around.
Season 2,
awesome.
Nicole. Season
I know.
2.
Yeah. Season 2.
Producers, if you're listening, she's available for season 2.
I will be available as long as it's not over a trip to like Limnos or Spain or anywhere that I really want to go climb.
I'll take one of my best experiences ever in my entire life in and out of OCR has been the Spartan show. So for me, it's like right up there with a trip to anywhere, because it's the world is always going to be there. These TV shows, they're fleeting experiences that may or may not be a flash in the pan. Mm-hmm. And for me, those and you too as well, you love competition so much. For me, I would take it over a trip to.
Yeah, because you won.
Well, okay, yeah.
Would you have taken it over a trip to Greece if you hadn't won $50,000?
Well, that's
if you walked out of there disappointed in the first round, would you say, "Oh, that was totally worth missing my dream vacation"?
Sure, the first round, yes, that would have sucked. But I'm trying to prove a negative here. It didn't happen, so I have no idea. Like, if I was,
it happened to me. All right.
Oh yeah, true. So you know. Hey,
but you know what you got out of it, man? You got some high quality, about 2-second footage of you carrying a very large woman on your back.
No, that didn't even make it.
No,
our whole team got cut.
Really?
I know where I've seen the shot. That's the only reason I know.
See, that's more my experience, where you go on, you're like wait around for a few hours, like from 11 to 3 in the morning, and then you do your run and your foot grazes the water on the first obstacle and you have to stop.
I gotta tell you, I'm gonna like push the full on self-promotion button right now. I thought I was gonna leave that Spartan Team Challenge as a superstar.
Yeah, well,
we had a team on there that was an awesome group of people, and I did some things on there that I thought was TV. I dove into a lake 3 times. We had a teammate who couldn't swim. And as we went across the lake,
this
our
sounds
team
like
fell
television
in 4
gold.
times.
Yeah,
it was. She fell in 4 times, and 3 times I went under to get her, and it was underwater with just my arms up, pushing her up to get her out of the water. There were no lifeguards anywhere near. They're like scrambling people trying to get the boat in the water because she couldn't swim.
Oh, wow.
And then she
maybe they didn't want to show that they messed up.
1,000 meters.
Dude,
I thought I was going to come out of this thing like, this guy
like a hero,
like the all-American superhero. And that just goes to show, like, you can't make plans on things. I don't know, like, this is going to springboard me into so many things. And we didn't even make the show.
Dude, hey, guess what? I won the show. It did nothing. Like nothing changed. I didn't gain any Instagram followers. No, I can't say that. A lot of people reached out. I had a little spree of speaking at high schools and stuff about depression, but nothing effectively changed from it except for the prize money.
Right. So you just made my point for us. Go to Greece, forget TV shows.
Right. Well,
rock climbing is the best, basically.
Speaking of which, your photos from that trip were pretty incredible. Where can people go to follow you on Instagram and watch and take a look at some of your exploits?
Yeah, my Instagram handle is Nicole, Nickel DM.
Wait, you said CK?
Yeah, right? Isn't that how you spell it?
There's no K in your name? What are you talking about?
Well, my name is Nicole Mericle, but my Instagram name
But there's still no K in your name anywhere. Oh, wait, no, it is. It's like Nickel Dime or something. That's what I always think.
Because Nicole is like a nickname.
Are you arguing with her over the spelling of her Instagram name?
Well, she spelled her own name with a K for a second.
Should I change it? You can change your Instagram handle, right?
Honestly, if I were you, I would, just because no one knows who Kent is. They know him as Drop the Hammer, and he's like, yeah, I didn't. Yeah. It's potentially a good market.
Don't change that. He's more famous for that.
No, that's true. But for a lot of people,
I should have like a famous one.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't
a catchy like runner, climber, OCR type of.
Yeah, like what does a nickel have to do with anything?
It is nothing. I got this Instagram in like 2012 or something, and I was just like a random girl running around Boulder.
Well, do you get a lot of weird DM messages?
I get some weird DM messages
because I feel like your name might speak to that.
Oh,
like
no.
You're just asking to be DM'd by creeps.
you only cost a nickel.
DM. I didn't even think about that. See, the D is for my middle name Danielle, and the M is my last name Mericle.
Okay.
Well,
now I'm definitely changing it. Okay, but I need some input on what I should change it to.
I think you should just stick with Nicole Mericle. Like everything of mine, my email is Beni Gifford, my name is Beni Gifford. Everything's because it's so straightforward. Unless you get
Miracle Mile.
Ooh.
Isn't that's the show though?
No, it's $1 Million Mile.
Oh,
no, but there's the Miracle Mile in Chicago.
There is, yeah.
Where you can be.
But I'm the last person to talk to you about social media exposure.
I think you should be
ineffective.
What happens if I change it? Will like will my Instagram explode and like will be able to find me and like?
I don't know. You got to look that up. I'm not actually sure. When people type in your name, Nicole Mericle, no matter what it is, your tag will come up.
That's true.
Anyways,
we're straying from our bread and butter here.
Yeah.
Our bread and butter is either speaking knowledgeably about OCR or speaking not knowledgeably about OCR.
What is that? Is that the co-host role? Because I've been so immediately placed in the co-host role.
Not just for today. You can spearhead next one.
I suggest Brakken intros one time and suddenly I'm the flipping co-host.
Give me an inch, Beni.
Give it an inch.
So Nicole, you did say something that I thought was interesting because very few people in our sport accept the statement that money is important. We really like to play up the role of I do this because I love it or I do it to inspire people. But while that really sounds cool and plays well in social media, it's oftentimes just not true, or that is a component of your desire for it. But I like the fact that you were willing to say, like, it's not my only motivator, but I'm doing this to make a living.
Yeah, I would say it's not my only motivator, but I definitely like that's like a big factor that goes into which races I decide to do.
And it should be. Why is our sport unnerved by the idea of talking about finances when every other sport, half the news exists about athletes demanding more for what they're worth? But our sport, we refuse to. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like anytime you talk to a sponsor, like, sure, it'd be great to promote things, just because you love them. But if you're doing that as your job, then, you should value yourself as, like what you talk about is, we talk about what you promote on your social media channels. That's all something that you can leverage and use as part of being an athlete as your job. So
it is, and it should be acknowledged by people. If you say, I only do this for the love of the sport, also go use Ray-Ban for 30% off. Like, come on. Yeah. Really? You're a 24-year-old athlete and you need support sleeves for your elbows.
Right.
Like, is that authentic, or are you doing it for the love of the sport and because Ray-Ban gives you a paycheck? And maybe if you were just more forthcoming with that, it would actually play a little more organically.
Yeah. And I think there's nothing wrong with saying, you know, I'm promoting this brand, you know, I love this brand, but also I'm promoting it, and I really am thankful for their support.
Yeah. So have either of you watched the Fire Festival doc on Netflix?
Nope. The what?
You familiar with Fire Festival?
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. I did not watch the documentary though.
Oh, all right. So Cliff Notes version. What'd you say?
Was that the big scam?
Yeah, Cliff Notes version. It started off. It seemed as to be a genuine festival. It imploded, and the leader of the company just ran it into the ground while suckering people out of money. Oh. But it kind of brought to light the role that promoters and influencers play in the role of social media, in the world of social media, and that there's been some actual litigation now that has been put into law at times, or trying to be put into law, that says people should be more responsible about informing their audience when they are promoting something and when they are influencing. And for an athlete like yourself or myself or anyone else in this industry who has a few people that do notice what they say, when you are disingenuous about why you're promoting, it leads people astray.
Yeah.
But when people are saying like, hey, I'm absolutely promoting this product, I feel like people can put more worth in what they're saying then, because they don't feel like someone's trying to pull a rug over their eyes. Like everyone has to make a living. That's not dishonorable. Being dishonorable is pretending like you don't want to make a living off something.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
It helps streamline your season. You talked about choosing races based off that.
Yeah. And some of that's just like influenced by how Spartan has laid out like the championship series, for instance. Like I contractually have to do those even if if I didn't want to, for some reason, but so like those are I'm definitely doing, and they also happen to be like the more competitive ones and the races with more money in them. But besides that, I look at other things like the North American Championship race that OCR, what is it called?
OCRWC.
The OCR, the OCRWC puts on, races like that are on my schedule too. And that's always fun to go to, because I end up doing tons of Spartan races, and it's fun to do something that's like a little different sometimes.
I agree. And I think you'd see a lot of top athletes doing more outside races if prize money was there.
Yeah.
And it's an unfortunate reality.
Yeah. Well, another one that I've been wanting to do this year is Savage Race. Because Beni mentioned this before. I did a couple in 2016, and those are tons of fun. Unfortunately, there's none out here in Colorado, and so it's kind of a trip to get to them. But they also have decent prize money in them, and then it's a different layout. It's a 5-mile. They're all 5-mile courses with mandatory obstacle completion and some definitely more challenging grip obstacles, which again appeals to me with the whole rock climbing background.
You saw that they now have the 2-day race weekend, right? Where it's the 5 to 7 mile normal Savage Race on Saturday. And then they keep the same prize money structure, and they bring it over to Savage Blitz, which is a 5K the next day.
Oh, I did not say that. I didn't see that.
So they
have a shorter course.
Yep. You could go and make $2,000 a weekend doing, a 5 to 7 mile race. That's super fun. And then a smaller version of that. Now I haven't done one myself, but I imagine, Savage has consistently exhibited the knowledge that, unique and fun and equally difficult obstacles are important. So I'm hoping that the 5K would maintain that kind of ratio. I was going to I signed up for the Central Texas one for both days. And then like a day later, Spartan decided to finally release their stadium series, and that's City Field. So I'm going to have to defer that to a different location. Speaking of,
would you go to Georgia?
Yeah, I've raced in Georgia for Savage once. They've got beautiful terrain there. My only qualm, I have been chasing that Savage Battle Axe of Glory that you get for first place for years. It was my second race I've ever done. And I've gotten second at Savage every time I've ever raced, because flipping Yuri Force is there. I love the guy. I don't know why he doesn't do more obstacles. Well, he's got, I don't know, like 50 axes or something. And he's only ever been beat by Ryan Woods. And I think it was like only a couple times he's been beat.
I beat him.
You beat him at
Humble brag.
Well, hold on. At Savage? Mm-hmm. Oh, shoot. Okay, well, you're one of the two names.
My first Savage, actually.
Really?
Wow.
What year was that?
Oh, this goes way back. This might be 2015 or 2014.
Bracken, you've beat
However,
everybody, haven't you?
there's a few. I actually have a list of people that I have never beaten.
There's only 4 in the world.
There's
Really?
Josiah Middow. He came to a race one time in 2011. It was my second race. He beat me and never came back to the sport, so I can't beat him.
Oh,
But
that's a
I almost feel like you can
Do you
just
have like
scrap
a-
that off the list.
yeah, he's not going to show up. Oh, I was going to say, do you have? So somebody said I should do this for the men's elite field.
You should, absolutely. And
put
then
a list of all the guys, and then you check them off when you beat them.
Until a few weeks ago, I was not on that list, but she smashed everybody at that.
Yeah, but you hadn't raced her. I think she's 1-0 against you in Spartan.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Well,
that was our first race against each other.
Show up to a stadium race, and we'll see if that happens.
I would like to try a stadium race.
Undefeated against Beni and Spartan.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
I think I'm just going to put that as my new Instagram handle.
Right. When sponsors ask why they should sponsor you, you're just like, well, I have beaten Beni Gifford 100% of the time, so yeah. But dude, no, Bracken, you've only lost to Cody Moat, Sergey, Perigligli,
again from Russia.
Yeah, and Andrew Adamowski, who I think came in once ever, and he's never come back.
Probably Tahoe.
It was Tahoe, yeah.
I don't know the name.
And then there was Logan Broadbent. You lost to him twice, and I have no idea. Yeah. Or sorry, and then there's that Gregory Riz. But again, these are people who like popped in, popped out, like Lance Armstrong did, and then
there is one more guy, Mike. I think his name's Micah, but I forget. He ran a Texas race. Anyways, the point is, there's like 5 or 6 guys, but all but 1 or all but 2 don't come back to OCR. So I've never beat Cody Moat my entire life. I've never beat him.
I'm getting some intel that says that I might have beaten Bracken in Tahoe.
Uh-oh.
Getting some intel. Are we live to the rest of the world right now?
Yeah, like what do you mean intel? Who's hiding in the room with you, just giving you updates?
There's somebody in the room with me.
Yes, there is a good chance. Back in whatever my first year at Tahoe was, I walked the last, I think, 40 minutes of the course.
No, why?
Are you talking about the Ultra Beast?
No, Tahoe, the first year beast. They just wheels came off. I had raced in Mexico City 2 weeks before, and I caught Moctezuma's Revenge, and I lost something like 12 or 13 pounds in the week leading up to Tahoe.
Oh, geez.
And I decided to go for it, and came out of the lake and just cramped my life away, and I walked down the mountain and shuffled and jogged. I think I would have missed the women's podium that year.
Dude, we're
so yeah, I'm sure you probably smashed me there. So I guess I can be on your list.
We're past the days of when we can just erase from existence our bad races. Ever since Jack Bauer came out with these stinking statistics, every mark is a blemish that will forever be brought into the light.
It is. So I guess I'm on the list. I didn't get chicked that day, but I think that your time being slower than girls is considered getting chicked. So that's how I got chicked. I think I would have been 4th in the world as a female that year.
Hey, well, we've seen
almost
that approach.
A podium.
It's a pretty efficacious approach if you want to go down that route. It's worked in the past.
It is. So switching gears from really, really slow stuff. Nicole, let's talk speed.
Okay.
Because you and I share a common love in our background, and that is track and field.
Oh, yeah.
I did a little digging.
USA, right?
What did you say?
Huh?
You ran for Team USA?
Oh, did I?
Yes.
No, I made the Olympic trials one year in the steeplechase.
Okay.
Is that when you ran 10:07?
The close. I ran. Yes.
Because I have some inside sources too who giving me information.
Call the computer.
I think I ran 10:07 a different year actually. I think I qualified with like a 10:12.
Wait. Okay. That's steeplechase?
It used to be slower then. Yeah.
3,000 meters with barriers.
Yeah, great. That's fantastic.
So you were a Rice owl, correct? You ran at Rice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Benny, do you know where Rice is?
It comes from like China or something.
That's right. So I took a look at your PRs.
Uh-huh.
So before you get into it, I'm going to break down your PRs for you.
Okay.
To me, it looked like your best result ever was obviously the steeplechase. But second, I put your 16:39 5K as your second best performance ever. What would you rank in terms? Because you also ran a 4:51 mile.
I ran.
Did you ever get
Yes,
faster than that?
I think my 1500 time was better. It was a 425, which is equivalent to like a 446 mile.
Yeah.
So I would say
Yeah, I
that's a
guess
better
that's
performance.
a stronger PR.
Yeah.
But Americans don't know what meters
and
are.
then the 1639, is that what you said?
Yeah,
1639. Yeah, I just didn't. I would never say that was like a good effort for me, because that's when I had a labral tear and compartment syndrome, and so
You had compartment syndrome, huh?
it was never officially diagnosed because I was never able to do the test because I couldn't run on a treadmill because of my hip labrum tear. But it was very much presented as compartment syndrome in my shins. And I think, so that race that I did at Mount Sac, I was racing the 5K because I couldn't do the steeplechase because of my hip that I had recently torn. And my lower legs were numb for probably like 3K of that 5K race.
And you're in 1639. What do you think you could have run then? What kind of fitness had you been
I think so, just like comparing myself to like the team, like my teammates who I trained with and how they raced, the ones that like would typically do the 5K, because 5K just wasn't an event that I did very often. Mm-hmm. I think I could have gone low 16s, like maybe a little bit under, but definitely like very low 16s.
That's moving. Beni, I think we can put some like black and white numbers out here. If you do not want to be relegated to co-host role, you're going to have to beat 451 in the mile or 1639 for a 5K.
Well, this is near and dear to my heart today because I just retested my 5K.
Ooh, I did results.
Oh yeah. I just ran a 17:17, which is 14 seconds down from 8 weeks ago. So I'm
solo.
Okay. Yeah. I've never had a pacer or
just a time trial.
Yeah. Right, just a time trial.
Now that we have some running minds on the podcast, Nicole, what would you say his 17:17 solo effort is worth in a race?
Oh,
just a straight running race?
Spiked up with good competition.
Yeah, you probably ran in flats, huh?
I don't think he owns racing flats.
Training.
The Merrill
a thin shoe, like kind of like a racing flat, probably.
The Merrill Trail Glove 4. I've never had
spiked up with some like adrenaline. I mean, if like this is assuming that he raced a well-paced race.
Yeah, just equivalent effort.
Yeah. I mean, then I think he would beat me 16:30s.
No, come on.
No,
I was gonna say he raced 17.
What? What you said it was 17? What?
17:17. I'm not shaving like 40 seconds off just because I have spikes on.
Well, and competition.
Still.
I bet you could drop 10 seconds mile.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
we'll say 10 seconds mile.
I outpaced myself a little bit and I had some burnout towards the end. I started off a little too fast and ended up paying for it. Had to dial back. So assuming I had a pacer and I got my pacing exactly, I'm thinking I'm in like 17:10 shape right now, which I'm wildly excited about. I have no running background, and to me, I'm actually starting to feel like a runner, and it feels amazing.
There's one more important question that we have to ask about this time trial today.
Are you going to ask?
Two important questions. One, what was the terrain and how did you mark the distance?
It was a treadmill.
Oh, what?
Whoa, wow. Hey, what do you want from me? It's 28 degrees out here right now, okay?
It's negative 14 here, Beni.
Yeah, and were you running a 5K trial? No, you wouldn't.
No, but I ran 70 minutes this morning.
I don't know if that's more impressive or...
I love treadmill running because I acknowledge that I don't have a running background, and so pacing is not my stronghold when it comes to pure running. I pace fantastically during a race because that's my only experience is like obstacle course racing. But you put me on a track and you tell me to pace without a pacer, I'm either going to go way too slow, or I'm going to go way too fast, or my times are going to be all over the place. So
you just have to work on it.
Well, no, that's true, and I do that during all my training. But on PRs and an attempted PR, one of the main reasons I absolutely love treadmill training is because it guarantees the physiological stimulus that I'm aiming for, because you don't have to look at your watch and wonder this or that. It's like I'm exactly where I need to be, and there's no question. I just have to keep running, which you can make an argument for maybe on a track or on a road. I wouldn't be able to maintain that, or maybe I'd be able to go faster because of these different elements because I love trail running, blah, blah, blah. But, when it comes down to it, the actual things that matter are my race performances, and those are not on a treadmill. So for me, I just like.
I think you'd be a better runner if you were on land more often.
Well, I only get on a treadmill a couple times a week. Everything else is.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, there are two types of people. There are one type of person who you can put them on a treadmill and they'll just say, as long as this belt's moving, I'm running this pace. And there's the type that spend every second telling themselves, I can't run this any longer. And I am the person that cannot run on treadmills.
Same.
So I'd be impressed with a fast 5K on a treadmill because I couldn't do it. But I also know someone who ran like 1420 or 1430 in a treadmill 5K who has like a 1455 road PR.
Oh,
Who's just phenomenally better. So Nicole, where do you stand on that? Do you ever use treadmills and are you good at it?
No, actually. So I never use treadmills. Even when I physically could, I use them very rarely. But ever since 6 years ago, when I tore my hip labrum, I pretty much haven't been able to run on them.
Well,
For some reason, it's like way, way worse for it.
Okay, so that's personal, like mental preference, like you're bored out of your mind, or you have
like,
a physiological thing with it?
It's like it's an issue where my leg goes numb, and I can't move it.
Oh, that's rough.
I haven't tried to get on a treadmill in probably like 2 years.
Is it because of the lack of variation?
Is it what?
Is it the lack of variation?
I think so, yeah. And like the more consistent, flat, and smooth the surface is, the worse it is for my hip.
So do you deal with that in races ever? Like if there's a long fire road section, you never notice that? No,
I've never, and I've run some flat courses and it hasn't been an issue as long as there's obstacles that kind of break up the running. And typically the footing is at least a little bit uneven. And that seems to help. But also, my hip is getting better. What?
No, go ahead. I interrupted you.
Oh, it also has been improving, especially I would say in the last like 6 months.
Cool. Good.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is you gave us a perfect segue into finally getting around to talking about Jacksonville.
Yeah.
If there was a course with a lack of consistent footing, that was the course, and you seem to just eat it up. Why? Yeah. Why were you so good at Jacksonville despite not living in, a southern swampy climate?
Yeah, I don't live in a swamp, that's for sure. But I think that, I don't know exactly why, because I would say there have been other races that have had like swampy type of terrain. I remember like Seattle in 2017. I didn't run well in that terrain. And so I think part of it is just that my legs are a lot stronger, and probably all the years of running on like crazy, really technical trails here in Boulder and other places.
What do you attribute stronger legs to? The fact that you've integrated weight training, or just somehow volume has hit a critical mass point where now your legs just feel invincible?
So in 2016, when I first started doing obstacle course races, I hadn't run consistently for 3 years.
Ah, okay.
Yes, 3 years. So even though I had this, big background of running my whole life, like you can see in pictures, my musculature is different, and my legs were kind of soft. And so I have much stronger legs now, just I think from the last, I guess it's been 3 years now. Yeah. 3 years of running, and also from the strength work that I've been doing recently too.
Okay.
About a year ago, I was talking to you and you said, Beni, you need to be running at a minimum 6 miles a day if you want to have any chance at being competitive in OCR. And no matter how many days go by, every time I'm running, I think, okay, got to do at least 6 miles, Nicole said. And I've had coach,
really?
Yeah. And I've had coach, and now whether I've actually listened to that or not is up to question. But the point is, you're in my head constantly like, did you run 6 miles every day? No. All right. Well, then you fail.
So that's kind of funny that I said that, first of all, because I don't run every day. I run 5 days a week. I probably would stand behind that statement, generally speaking, that like you got to run more if you want to be a good runner. But I am not a high mileage runner. I never have been, and I'm especially not now with the way that my hip behaves. But yeah, there is something to be said about having like 20 years of running behind me too. So
for you, what is a high mileage person for you? What are you doing, like 50 miles a week?
I probably all of last year ran an average of 30 to 40 miles a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And
but
this
yours are mountain miles, yeah?
Yeah. Everything is like hilly, definitely.
Okay.
It's not necessarily like straight up green mountain every day, but typically something with elevation change. Yeah.
So you're putting in a similar time investment to somebody who maybe was running high mileage flat.
No, not like, because to me, high miles, for somebody who's like an elite half marathon runner or a trail runner, or
I'm assuming
even like a 5K runner. So first comparing myself to like an elite, just like pure runner, those people are doing anywhere from like 60 to 100 miles a week. And I mean, that's like a big range, I know, but there are definitely a lot of people who are probably more like, who aren't not doing like 80, 90, 100 miles a week.
Right.
But 60 miles, like that's pretty standard for like a collegiate runner to be doing, at least like a collegiate female runner. I would say if you're at CU and you're a dude, then you're doing more like 80 to 100 miles a week. Yeah,
I would say that. And running 5 days a week gives you your per day is more like a 50 or 60 mile runner. If you're doing 40.
Yeah. I mean, I do like let's see, I'll do like a long run of like 12 to 14 miles, and I'll do a couple runs, or probably 2 runs that are 8 miles, and then like a run that's 10 miles, and then a workout that might end up being like 8 to 11 miles.
Yeah. So on
what
a
does that
per
end
day
up
basis,
being?
you're not slacking. You're just,
no,
you don't need to be an everyday runner at this point in your career. It's not.
Yeah. And I say a lot healthier if I don't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So has your off season been any different? Because you came into last year and you didn't have a very, I would say, consistent racing season in terms of actually racing.
Last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year I was injured the first like 5 months of the year. Sorry, I have to plug my computer in real quick. And so I did not have like a great start to my season. And I honestly was kind of struggling the whole year, I would say, with trying to stay healthy. And it really wasn't until the end of the year that I was like, oh, I feel really good. and
your performance then springboarded up as soon as you did that. You didn't look yourself for much of the year. And, obviously people were aware of injuries, but as soon as you got healthy, you got fit, and suddenly you were, right back up at NORAM and OCR World, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I had a great last like 2 or 3 months, I would say. And I kept on extending my season because I initially wasn't planning on doing anything past Spartan World Trifecta Championships. And that one was like even like kind of questionable. But then I got to that point and I was like, oh man, like I'm fitter than I have been all season and I feel great. So I raced that, and then I was going to race in Iceland, but then that ended up being, I had like a little bit of a setback with a hamstring issue there. And so kind of just crewed for that race, and then ended up doing the Red Bull All-In race in December.
And congrats on that, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Which that race was like December 15th, I think. So when we talk about an off season, I didn't really have much of one because I went from racing December 15th to then racing at the end of January.
Whatever it is you did, though, during the off season, it looks like it sets you up really well for Jacksonville. Now we're bringing up Jacksonville. I wanna talk about how the race actually went, because that you usually gap the field. You don't gap them, but you immediately like to head out front. Well, I've never seen such an immediate like, oh, okay, bye, Nicole. Like literally within 3 seconds, you were 15 feet ahead of everybody, and you maintained that for just a little bit. There was some back and forth at the beginning. I think Nell came up and ran right next to you for a little while, which was cool to see, because I'm sure you guys run together sometimes, and it was just like out for an intense run with your buddy. But how did it shake out? Because it was kind of hard. I'm not gonna lie. Even Magida and Donahue and everybody, they kept on getting the names mixed up, and it was hard to tell, especially because there's like 3 or 4 new names that were up there fighting with legitimate speed at the front. Where and when did you make a big move, or did you have a moment when you were like, okay, this is mine? Or did you have a moment you were thinking, crap, where's Lindsey? I need to do this, this, and this if I want to actually walk away with this?
So at the start of the race, I always like go out pretty fast. And I went out, and I you couldn't see from the live feed, but I actually look back a couple times in the first like 200 meters because I didn't like feel anybody behind me.
Yeah.
Like normally, even if you're like 10 feet ahead or something, like you can hear people, you can like kind of feel them there. And I got the sense that there's like nobody behind me. And I was like a little bit more ahead of people in the first like 100, 200 meters than I would say I am sometimes. So I was like, oh wait, are people there? And they were. And then I kind of settled in more, and Tia, who is one of the new girls, she's from Oklahoma. And so she actually came up beside me, and she went to take the lead. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. Like you can like lead if you want to. So I was thinking, cause what's like people probably don't know is that I'm not, as a runner, I was not the leader. Like I would just sit and kick. So it's actually a little bit unusual for me to be leading every race. So yeah, with Tia up there, I was like, oh great. Yeah. Like have like someone who I can just kind of like sit behind and, work with. But she wasn't up there for very long. She was maybe there for like 400 meters or something. And then at the Herc hoist, I think I just got like a little bit more competitive, and I was like, no, I want to lead the whole thing. And so I passed her, and then she was pretty close behind me up until the spear, really. So that was about 3 miles into the race, I think.
Did you go into this with a particular race strategy, like looking in the course map and knowing that it was obstacle heavy from the beginning? Did you deliberately try to blow up the field because you knew you'd be hitting obstacles, or did you have a particular strategy?
I did. I don't know how much to tell.
Yeah, you might need to use it again.
I mean, okay. So, yeah, I mean, I think.
Don't share if you don't want to.
No, that's fine. I think that I can hold a pretty fast pace in the beginning of a race and hold on better than a lot of people can. So it was definitely my intention to take it out fast and to try to maintain a fast pace the whole time. So, yeah, I mean, that was definitely my intention. I thought that Nell was going to be right there with me for at least for longer, but she was actually sick the week of the race. And so from the gun, like she did not feel good. And I knew that because she wasn't really there with me, which was kind of a bummer because we kind of had this plan together to like take it out hard.
Do you have any particular intent with, I don't know, having Faye maybe as a target because of her fun little, she's one of the first women I've ever seen have fun with the trash talk thing. And I don't know if that's something you've done in the past, but she said in her trash talk bit with you that Nicole's going to show up late and miss the entire race. #Diva. Have you showed up late to a start before or something?
I have never missed a race or showed up. Let me think actually. Before I say this.
That was just wishful thinking on her part.
Yes, I've never missed a race. I've never showed up late. There was one race that I did, a fun like 5K in Fort Collins one summer, which my friend reminded me about because I actually said, so I don't know if you saw my Instagram stories, but I made all these little like trash talk ones. And,
I didn't see you.
Yeah, and that's what like I actually said about myself. I was like, come on, like who else has like trash talk? Like and then I said I like kind of threw out an example of like I might miss the start because that's kind of like an easy shot to take at me.
That's typical women's field. In your trash talk, you have to include trash talk.
Yeah, but yeah, so I've never missed a race, but I will say that I think both my high school and my college coach and some of my friends are always a little nervous for me. But I'm like dialed in on race day. Like I have everything super planned out. So even though I tend to be a little tardy in life, when it comes to like race day, like I'm like on the ball.
So you and Nell had planned to push together.
Yeah.
But instead you get to the spear and you're the only one that makes it out of the top two. And now you're free and clear. And we just learned that you don't like being a front runner. We didn't know that. So what is that like to go 5 miles then solo? Is your energy focused backwards, or are you able to lock in and go forward?
It's something that's a little bit out of my comfort zone, I would say, but just to the extent that I kind of have to focus on kind of what you said. Like I have to not focus on who's behind me, and I have to focus more on trying to go faster and like focus on like the obstacles ahead of me and how much like distance I have ahead. So after,
at that point, it becomes more about running your best absolute race without having to worry about maintaining contact with anyone. Yeah. And
what was hard about Jacksonville is that we went through the sphere, and I didn't know that Tia failed hers because I hit mine. I was nervous about it falling out. And so I was like, I got to get out of there.
Really accelerated out of there.
Yeah, you did.
You would have had burpees with the hay bale.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I definitely appreciate the new sticky target that the sphere has.
That was a $3,000 target for you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think I could have missed my spear.
Yeah, probably.
Still had it.
He's like, whoa, Brakkens.
Whoa.
I'm not saying you would have missed the podium, but it was a nice progression for you.
Yeah. So made the spear, and then after that happened, I felt confident that I would be able to win the race because I just didn't think I would be failing anything else. And so the only thing I thought I had to do is like keep the pace that I had. And then even if like Tia, for instance, was able to stay with me, I thought that I would be able to do obstacles faster than her because she's new, she's still learning things. And so at every single obstacle that we got to in those first 3 miles, I would do it faster. And so I was pretty confident at that point, but that's not a good attitude to have in a race when you have 5 more miles and lots of obstacles.
Yeah.
So I was kind of, always like playing like a little like mind game where I was telling myself that like, anytime I wanted to like slow down a little bit or felt that I could slow down, I tried to think like, you have no idea what's going to happen in this race. Like, like things have, like I've fallen off the Z-wall before. I've fallen off monkey bars when they're icy and cold. Like things that typically I would think would be a walk in the park, I've failed. So
this may take a little mental digging, but was there one name in particular? Because obviously you had a bunch of names behind you. Was there one name in particular that you were running from? I mean, not necessarily running from, but that you were thinking, Lindsey's back there, or Rhea is back there, and I haven't even seen her, so maybe she plans on throwing down really hard in the second half. Was there any one name that was making you run scared?
I definitely thought about Tia, and I thought about Lindsey, because Lindsey, she will like pull the last half of a race off like crazy. Like there's nobody else that can close like her. Like she will come out of nowhere. She'll be minutes behind, and all of a sudden, she's like right on you.
Yeah.
So I knew that that she could be back there, and then I thought that I didn't know if I kind of knew that Nell wasn't feeling good. And after I did the rig and felt how wet it was, and after I did Twister, I thought there was a potential that Nell and Tia, just being new, might fail those obstacles. So I would say like the main person that I had in mind would have been Lindsey. Yeah.
And right. That was the wrong course to be out of sight from people on, because there was no rhythm you could naturally draw upon. You know that the whole time, at least in my head and a lot of people that I talk to, every step you're taking through the swampy areas or going through the lake section or the really muddy, you're thinking, is this the fastest someone could go through this? Or is somebody taking a different route or a different line or a different cadence that's better? And Lindsey can run through that stuff.
Totally.
And it's not like getting on a fire road and saying, well, I can just click into 550s or 6 flat and I'm just going to hold this because that's the best anyone can do. You have no clue if there are people in a pack working together through sections that you're not.
Yeah. And that was definitely something that I thought about, because I would step through some, like one part of it, and it would be totally different, like depending on like, I kind of found stepping in some of the places that looked actually more watery were firmer and easier to run on, even though you would kind of expect that
saturated
stepping in. Yeah. And so I was like, oh man, like I don't know what, and you kind of have to like not think about that too. Cause it's like, like
those things can
you might not be, you might not be running in the best place, but you just got to keep moving forward.
Well, you did it correctly. You opened up a gap and then you continued to open it all the way through the finish line. And to do that to a field of that caliber is one of the more impressive starts to a season we've ever seen. So moving forward to Alabama now, are you riding a high off that, or are you staying a little bit more grounded, like anything could happen?
Well, I think that given the conditions in Florida really changed things up, I still think that anything can happen. And so I would go into Alabama with the same mindset that I had during the race in Jacksonville, where, depending on if it's rainy, if it's muddy, other people can slip off, but I could also slip off of things. And so there's no room for, oh yeah, take it easy in the beginning because I'm going to make everything. And no matter, I've practiced my spear so much lately and I do feel more confident about it. But at the same time, I feel like I always have to have like a 2-minute buffer, because that is something that's like the only thing in my mind that like on any given day could go wrong.
Yeah.
So
have you, with you being such an advanced rock climber, I always catch myself thinking, why the hell would Nicole ever fall off anything? Especially because she has a running background also. She's used to high heart rates. I'm assuming that at some times during training you combine grip strength with high heart rates, and so you should at least be familiar with that feeling at this point. So it begs the question, does it really matter your ability to rock climb, or is it what you should be doing sport specific, which is like getting your hands wet and doing hand position changes, or doing rock climbing while your hands are wet and cold? Like, because you have probably arguably the best grip strength in the sport.
I don't think there's anybody else who has the same finger strength that I do, and potentially has the same kind of like body awareness, I guess. Because I definitely saw there's some obstacles that I think I do a lot differently than a lot of the other women and men, and I think it comes from rock climbing. But that's not to say that something like cold monkey bars could still impact my performance.
Right.
Because I'm definitely susceptible to cold when it comes to like my hands. So
do you ever do something deliberately to target that weakness?
No, I mean, I do. There's definitely been a lot of days where I want to climb and it's like in like the 30s or 40s, which is really not climbable weather. And I'll go out anyways and freeze my hands off. Well, but I never think about that as like obstacle training.
Well, it seems like you should, because you gave up a world title because you slipped off something in 2017.
Yeah. So that I think had more to do with my my sandbag proficiency or lack of.
That's interesting.
What do you mean? Because you were gripping it the whole time, or what?
Yeah, I mean, it when it comes down to it, it was my grip that gave out, but I think it had actually more to do with the sandbag that came right before those 2 rigs at OCR Worlds. And so I think the sandbag taxed my grip because I was like holding it tightly to my body, instead of having like my arms through the loops. And then also just the amount that it took out of my shoulders.
Okay.
And I think it was actually more like my shoulders, my biceps that were really fatigued from the sandbag. And then I got to the first rig and did that no problem. And I got to the second rig, and you had to do like kind of like a 1-arm pull up essentially, and like jump up to get to the first hold of the second rig. Mm-hmm. And the day before I had pulled and swung up to it totally fine. And but the second day in the 15K, I went to do that, and it took me 3 tries to get up to it because I was so tired. And I probably should have realized right then, like, oh, maybe I should just take like 30 seconds and like shake out and breathe for a second. Because I had like a 2 or 3 minute gap on Lindsey at that point. But again, like this was like a grip obstacle. I didn't think there was any way that I was going to fail it. Right. And so I just started going through it, and I get to the very last climbing hold, and I go to the second to last one. I go to the last one and I slip. And then at that point I was completely pumped in my forearms and kind of like overly fatigued. But yeah, it was super weird. And it's something that I have only felt in rock climbing before. And so you were there, you remember it. I was like, what do I do? Like this has never happened to me in a race.
You're like, what do I do? Yeah. If you ever get the chance, and this is a tough one because when you're competitive at the level you're at and you're trying to straddle that line of enjoying competition, but also knowing you have to pick races based off of prize money and the clout of competing and winning them, it makes it hard to put something in like a Conquer the Gauntlet, which Brakken, have you ever done one of those?
Never fit the schedule.
So it's exactly. It usually doesn't fit the schedule. They're smaller races, so I think the prize money is $500. But their obstacles, as we know with smaller races, they don't have thousands of racers that they have to appease. So they do whatever the hell they want, and they make these psychotic, crazy obstacles. I've never failed like an obstacle like ever. And I was stuck. Me and Victor Quesada, we had gapped the field by probably a full 3 minutes in the first mile and a half of this race. And we both hit this obstacle. We spent 35 minutes at this obstacle over and over and over. Now, by that point, there were lines, and so it was extending. But it made you have to get real. And it wasn't just about grip strength. It was extremely tricky movements and just brutal grip strength. And
what kind of moves? What were it?
So they combined... you know the ninja bungee cords that if you grab them, they stretch down, and if you grab too low, you'll slip off them, and you also can't then reach next. So it starts off with, I think it was just like an easy triangle grip, but then it was one of those bungee things. You had to transition from the bungee thing, which is a terrible 2-armed grip, onto you know the unstable bridge from Ninja Warrior, which is an extremely difficult transition. But then you have to inch forward to the end of that unstable bridge. You have to get that whole thing rocking. Yeah. Because the next transition is this PVC pipe that makes kind of I don't know how you describe this, but it's like a staple. A handle? Like is it just like a small handle that you go to? No, it's huge. It's huge. So it's a giant, imagine what a staple is, that line. It's kind of like an upside down table, and it's a really thick PVC pipe. So you cannot grab it with your hands. You have to get your entire arm around it and hook it. And remember, if you fail this even once, you're soaking wet now trying to grab PVC pipe, and it's a big tube. And so you have to get this unstable bridge rocking in a very big way, and then you have to right, and obviously you have to launch evenly with both hands at the same time, or the unstable bridge is going to dump you off. And that's not even the hardest part, because once you get to that, you then have to inch forward to the end of that, which is pretty long. And then the dismount is the hardest part, because if you touched the water, you were out. And they made the dismount way far away from the end of this thing. And so you're trying to get this big, just horrible mechanism swinging. And every time my foot would hit the edge, and then I would fall right back in. And I'm a tall guy.
Did you not get it?
I know. I eventually got it. But by that point, a few guys who do ninja and who are on the Conquer the Gauntlet Pro Team, they picked a smarter lane that got a much bigger swing going. And by that point, from lines and stuff, I was able to run down like 3 of them. But I think that brings up a good point. I mean, I think a lot of the benefit that I get from rock climbing isn't even my grip, but it's more my ability to lock off, and my ability to like keep my core tight and be comfortable in different positions that that other people just maybe aren't if they're just doing like hangs on the bar or pull-ups. Right. But that I also think that I'm not a gymnast, and that what you just described sounds a lot more like gymnastic than like something that I'm used to doing in Spartans or in rock climbing. So well, you've got that good body awareness, so I think you would have known what to do.
Your rock climbing has to be a big weapon when you get to races that you haven't seen before, like the OCR World 15K and those things where it's movements you're comfortable with, even if it's not a setup you have a muscle memory on. Yeah, I think climbing translates really well to a lot of obstacles. And also sometimes it offers like an alternative way to do things. For instance, so at the Spartan World Championships, they had a 9-foot wall that was on an uphill, and there was pretty much no way that I was jumping at that point in the race to the top of that, even with the little step they had. And I tried a couple times, and it just seemed really far away. So I was able to actually crimp down on some like little slits that were in the wood.
Holy crap.
And I pulled like a V3 move to get up on it.
That's pretty awesome.
That's wild.
So that was kind of funny.
So will you be going back for the trifecta this year?
I will. Yeah. Okay. I'm excited about
what's the scope of your season now? You've had an incredible start, as good of a start as anyone could ask for. You won the first race, and you really did it in commanding fashion. Has that changed the scope of your season, or are you still locked in on your original view?
Nope, it hasn't really changed my season at all, I would say. I still plan to do the rest of the series and then go to the North American Championship and do like the whole championship season of Tahoe and OCR Worlds and Sparta Trifecta, and then have a fun like month of rock climbing in Europe. Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing that's like still up in the air is if I kind of want to incorporate some trail races into my season, and I don't know if those are going to be here or in Europe, but sometime in June I want to do some maybe like 1 or 2 trail races.
Okay. So is there one race that stands out above them all, or do you just want the best season and championship season possible?
Well, I think that the next 2, Alabama and Seattle, given the flat terrain and like the high potential for things to be like wet and rainy, I think those definitely are races that I can do well at, and I'm definitely motivated to go after those. And then I would say that before the start of the season, I had some pretty negative thoughts about Big Bear, just given like the steepness and the how it pretty much requires you to power hike half the race. I wasn't super excited about that, but after doing really well in Jacksonville, I'm definitely more motivated to work on those weaknesses of mine and also do well in Big Bear.
Do you have a spot picked out in training that you're going to get power hiking?
Oh, we have some good mountains here that I usually avoid because it's like, oh, I want to do the runnable things. I don't want to do the things I have to power hike on. But yeah, something like running up Bear Mountain in Boulder. And then also I started doing ski mountaineering, and that I think should hopefully translate pretty well, that kind of motion to those speed hiking muscles.
Well, here's a tip for the listeners straight out of the Brakken Cranium archives. When I lived in Colorado Springs for the short time that Brakken was still there, I and him went running on Section 11, I think is the trail.
Section 16.
Section 16. And he told me, we were chatting while we were going, and he was talking about this conversation with John Yatsko he had. Talking about extremely steep running. And Brakken was like, Yatsko, I can't train. There's nothing out here that's like 50, 60% incline. You know, there's no trails like that. And Yatsko said, Brakken, yes, there is. Go off trail. And Brakken took me to a secret little spot that was right next to a trail that I would never have thought to leave the trail. It's already like a 20 to 30% incline, rocky, great climb. And he goes left, and it's, what would you call that? Like a 50% incline, 40?
Yeah, averages 49% through there. But I never thought to leave the switchbacks.
Yeah.
It's just not in your mind. You run the trails.
Normally you're kind of.
Oh, not supposed to? Well, it's in the wild in the Rockies, and two skinny 112-pound dudes going up and down it. I don't think was.
I'm sure it's
put
fine.
112 pounds on it.
But so that was a big game changer for me. I realized, holy crap, all this terrain. Yes, I know this may not be great trail etiquette, but
it was the backside of the mountain. There's no etiquette back there.
This entire
it's the Wild West, yeah.
Right, exactly. This entire terrain is my training grounds, not just this clear-cut trail. So that was, that was helpful.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I mean, there's so many trails out here that are steep, and I just have to look for them.
So
instead of avoid them.
One thing that we love about the podcast that we're going to have everybody do, and you seem to have an affinity for, is what's coming, Nicole, because I can see your face trash talk.
I don't know. Oh.
So is there, we know that there's races and there's seasons and blah, 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 things you want to do good at, but everybody's got that one person in their mind that they want to stomp into the ground. Oh. Who is that for you? And and maybe it's because they kicked your ass at something and had some snarky remark at the finish line, which I doubt because the women are all so lovey-dovey. But who do you have in mind, and what race are you planning on putting your stamp on?
That's a pretty easy one, I would say. I wouldn't phrase it as stomping them into the ground, but just given the dominance that Lindsey has shown the last few years, it would definitely be nice to beat Lindsey.
That was the sweetest reply you could have ever.
It would be so nice.
It would be such a treat. No.
All right. Well, let's keep these rolling. Beni, rapid fire time?
Yeah, rapid fire time, man. Why don't you kick it off?
All right. Go-to training shoe.
Oh, the Solomon. What's my shoe? What's my training shoe?
This is pathetic.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I know I can tell you my ratio.
Sure.
Okay, so the Solomon Ultra Pro is the trail shoe that I train in, and then my ratio is the Send Soft Ground.
You kick the Hokas to the curb?
Yeah, I worked for them for a couple years and ran in their shoes for a while after as well. But I've been really happy racing in Solomon's the last few years.
A temporary pause, which just defeats the entire purpose of these rapid fire questions. But if you want to listen to an awkward ass interview, go look up a interview on the National Running Network with Richard Diaz and Nicole Mericle. It is so awkward because Nicole is so like a little petite, and especially because she's coming to the sport. And
He
Diaz
does not like Hokas.
Hoka's trash, and Nicole's like, no, Hoka's trash.
He is the type of person that if he believes something you don't, you're wrong, and he will gladly tell you that.
Yeah. I was just like, agree to disagree.
Yep, that doesn't exist in his vocabulary.
No.
All right. So you train in the pros, the ultra pro, and you race in the soft grounds. Go-to food post workout.
Oh, waffles. Oh, post workout.
Oh, I mean
waffles all the time. But
what kind of waffles?
But waffles definitely pre-workout. Well, I have gluten-free frozen ones that I toast, and then brand. Oh, Nature something.
Nature's Valley.
Nature's Valley. Oh, you know. Yeah.
You're not hitting those Kodiak cake waffles.
I can't have them. I'm allergic to everything.
I'm lactose intolerant, but guess what? I still eat them.
Do you have celiac or gluten intolerance?
No, I just have an allergy. Yeah.
Guys, look at my hand right now. I look like I've got the power of the world in my hand. You see this? Okay, so
my wife was gluten-free for 5 or 6 years due to an intolerance.
Yeah, but now she's okay.
Eventually got to cycle it back in. She can't go nuts with it anymore, but we did the gluten-free waffles.
Oh, I went nuts in Europe. I went to Europe, and when I was in Europe in the fall, I partly like it was hard to find things that I could eat, and partly because like some people have said that the quality of their wheat is better and affects people at like a lower level. But anyways, I went crazy. I had like croissants every morning. It was amazing.
Did it affect you?
It didn't affect me in any way like obvious. So one thing is that like I always struggle with being anemic, and so I kind of worry that it sometimes will my food allergies will hurt my stomach and make my absorption of certain nutrients more difficult. Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah.
All right. So favorite drink?
Favorite drink? Wine? Is that an option?
Yeah. Do you have a type? Or just whatever you can get in a box?
I like good wine. But I like Malbecs a lot. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I got one. Who's your ideal sponsor? Like anybody in the world.
Ideal sponsor? Ooh. Well, the first one that comes to mind is Sour Patch Kids.
That's not where I saw it going, but I like it.
That's not at all what I saw. But is that because you're sour on the outside and sweet on the inside?
Am I?
I don't know.
No, creepy.
Hey.
I don't know. I like candy.
Okay.
One place in the world to train out of, where would you choose?
Oh, well, I love Boulder.
Colorado is not a bad
answer. I feel like I'm in a good place, but I would also, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to say Boulder because I just love Boulder.
All right. Favorite workout?
My favorite workout? I like doing like long tempos up mountains.
Do you tempo down as well?
No, not typically. I usually take it easy
all the way
down
up and just relax down?
And then cruise on the way down, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite.
If you could be a professional athlete in any sport other than OCR, what would you choosing?
Ooh. It would have been really cool to be super good at soccer.
Ooh.
There's money there. You want to talk money?
Or like, something more extreme than that, I think. Well, rock climbing. I would definitely be, rock climbing for sure.
All right, last one I have for you then. Favorite OCR athlete of all time?
Favorite OCR athlete of all time?
Yeah. Do you have anyone you were always a fan of when you came into the sport? Or is that not not your thing?
I don't know. I mean, I like when I first came in, I looked up like all the best female athletes, and I remember like researching like Corinna Coffin and Lindsay and Faye and Amelia. I remember like those girls were like the ones that I looked up, and
All right, well,
yeah.
if you don't have
all
one,
of
then
them.
favorite
I'll say all of them.
non-OCR athlete.
Favorite non-OCR athlete? I don't know. These are hard.
Do you follow other sports?
I don't really follow other sports now. I just like to do sports.
That makes sense. Ben, you have any last ones? Kick this off.
No, I want to know who you want to give some shout outs to, because obviously you're on the Spartan Pro Team and that entails certain things, but do you have any sponsors, anybody who's been supporting you along the way?
Yeah, I would definitely give a big shout out to Spartan and Darn Tough and Alt Red.
What is Darn Tough?
Darn Tough Vermont. It's a sock company. They are locally owned, and everything is made in their mill in Vermont, which is super cool. And they guarantee socks for life. So if you like get a big hole in your sock, you send it in and you get a replacement.
How do they stay in business? That's insane.
Well,
that's like a one-time sale to every new customer. Like I don't
well,
get
if you only want to own one pair of socks,
right? Well,
but they make a ton of different types, different thicknesses, different lengths, different purposes.
I mean, I don't like. I've got socks for every occasion. I have like socks that I sleep in. I have socks that I run in like certain like cold weather and warm weather, and I ski in, and I wear around with my Ugg boots, and you can never have enough socks.
Yeah, little brand name drop there. My Uggs can't just be Uggs.
My soft shoes.
Nice.
I don't know.
Cool. Okay. Well, Nicole, you rock. Thanks for coming on the show. We're looking forward to watching your season as it progresses, and I hope you enjoyed that victory over me, because it's the last time you're going to beat me.
Ooh, do we get a rematch sometime?
Oh,
when is the next time we're going to see a Nicole Beni showdown?
That's not going to happen probably until the OCR North American Championships, assuming you're doing that.
Yep, that's the plan.
Yeah,
I may just do the 3K.
Yeah, I'm just going to do the 3K, which I'm kind of like double-edged annoyed about doing it. One, because it's like the most expensive race to go to there is. It was more expensive to go there last year than it was to go to OCR World Championships in a different country.
Yeah.
But also kind of bitter because it's like, yeah, it's a 3K, but it's straight up and down of a 3K. So it's really not about who's speedy.
Okay, so let's make a betting line right now.
Ooh.
We need to put something on the line so we can check back in after the next time you race, and we can have people pay their bets.
Okay.
Okay.
Nicole, well, let's see. I automatically go to shaving body parts for some reason. Like my first thought process.
You can't go there with female guests, Beni.
That's why I
shave, like what if I like shave like this part of my head?
All right. If I lose, I'll shave both my armpits, which to me is like the worst thing I will ever do in my life. If you lose, you gotta do.
No. If you lose, you have to get a rat tail.
That is way better.
What is a rat tail?
Beni, don't say you don't know what a rat tail is.
What is a rat tail? I thought I have to have long hair for a rat tail. It's like a ponytail, right?
A rat tail is when you have like just like one like section of long hair, and you.
Oh, are you kidding me? I wanted to be Obi-Wan so I could have that long.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not off the side. It goes directly down the back.
Oh, hey, how am I going to do that anyways? I'm going to grow my hair out?
This is like it's going to take some effort. You have to grow your hair from now until the next time we race.
Yeah. No,
I think what's fair is that if she beats you, the day she beats you, you start growing a rat tail, and you have to keep it for however long she says right now. How long do you think he'll have to grow it out and keep it for?
Until he can beat me.
Oh, that's Beni. I don't think you have any way around this.
It's so funny.
At the next race, if she beats you, you have to start growing a rat tail and keep it until you beat her.
And you have to call it.
I have to call it. The only chance I would have would be months later at the World Championships, and I have a job.
You understand that you are not confident in beating a female at your chosen sport.
It has nothing to do with the confidence. She exhibited the ability to beat me 2 weeks ago. I would be retarded, or I'm sorry for using the R word. I would be extremely unintelligent to just make a bet like that.
How much did she beat you by?
Like 2 minutes, dude.
Okay, how much more room do you have to improve than she does? throughout this course of the season.
Yeah.
Well, quite a bit more than
Beni, I can't even grasp the fact that you are not betting on yourself versus someone with a different chromosome set than you.
It's not that I'm not betting on myself. It's I don't want a rat tail in case something stupid happens. Hey, dude, if this was just a straight up
just like every day you think how I told you need to run 6 miles every day, in the back of your mind, you should just be thinking, I'm going to have a rat tail named Nicole unless I beat her.
Come on, listeners, back me up here. There are a million factors in OCR. What if I snap my ankle? Oh, okay, hold on. Is this barring an injury or something happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to do that to you, Beni.
That being said, if you're behind her time, you can't walk off course with an injury.
Yeah, and I wouldn't do that. Trust me, the last thing on my mind at the North American Championships is, oh no, I'm going to have a rat tail.
It seems pretty important to you right now, and you don't seem confident.
You know what? I am not going to put anything down on this because I don't even know what the elevation profile is on this. And
oh my goodness, Beni, you're calling out elevation profile? You're racing
she will
a
kill
girl.
me. She will kill me on any mountain course. I can tell you that.
Well, Nicole, congratulations. You have emasculated him in front of the entire Obstacle Dominator network. Congrats.
This is proof.
You are so far. You are renting out space in his head at this point.
This is proof that I don't have an ego.
We need to shut this thing down before Beni gets set back any farther in his training and have to completely rework his training plan.
I'm on a high. I cut off 14 seconds on a PR in less than 8 weeks. Yeah. So you can say whatever you want right now. I'm in a great place.
Okay. Well, Nicole, thanks for being on. It's been a pleasure. Good luck in Alabama. I'll see you out there.
Thank you so much.
Peace out.
You guys.
I'll see you.
Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Wow, you guys suck monkey balls right there at the end.
Well, I mean, at least false bravado, Beni.
No. See, but I'm not about that. I'm about being totally real and not getting social pressured into something that I am not 100% confident about, dude.
You're going to have to show up to a stadium, Nicole, and beat him there.
Oh, I'll make that bet on a stadium.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Visit ObstacleDominator.com for show notes, training, and racing resources. And leave your question for Beni and Brakken.